with all of that out of the way, I just want to take a moment to introduce our panel. Again, this is the 6th year I'm teaching the class, and as I said, I think the session that most of the students really appreciate the most are these panel sessions to hear from people, women, men, couples that use the various natural methods or fertility awareness-based methods. And so I shared with the panelists some questions, why they chose the method, what methods they've used, what their experience has been in the healthcare professional system. So I'm going to ask them to share that.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you all. I've really enjoyed hearing all the stories here today. My name is Chaney Mullins. I work in women's health. I work for Divine Mercy Care, which is the umbrella educational and fundraising organization for Tepeyac Family Center, now called Tepeyac OBGYN. So I really, really care about all of this stuff. But my actual journey towards greater fertility awareness began in the pediatrician's office when I was a young teenager. And she looked at me and she asked, "Do you have any questions about birth control?" I wasn't sure what to make of it. Was she saying, "Do you want birth control?" Was she saying, "Do you want me to tell you about birth control?" I wasn't sure. So I just simply looked at her and I said, my personal decision just for me is that I don't want it until I get married. That's just my choice. And, we dropped it. We didn't discuss it further. But even as I said that, something in me questioned that. Something in me said, well, why would I not want it before, but then want it when I get married? And it really has no logical explanation because I was not raised in any kind of background in which I had any knowledge that there were moral or health or scientific objections to birth control at all. So it just sort of fired in me with this innate knowledge that just wasn't for me. And so I had a conundrum because I also knew I never really wanted a huge family. That just wasn't something I felt called to. So I was like, what am I going to do? I guess I'm just going to have to go on birth control one day, and I'll just cross that bridge when I come to it. But I was always sort of seeking this third way and had no idea what it might be. And so then I got to college, and I'm a sociologist. I'm really interested in the effect of the pill on an individual level, on a sociological level. I just got really interested and started uncovering objections that people had to artificial contraception. And so me and my best friend were friends in college with this old Catholic lady, and we weren't Catholic at all, and she would always be like, "Natural family planning," and we were like, okay. And so she said, "You have to sit down with the expert, my friend. She'll explain it to you." And so we somehow set ourselves up for this meeting, and we didn't know what we were really getting ourselves into. And we met with this woman, and she gave us a very long presentation, which I many years later figured out was the introduction to Creighton. And we sat there, and I had two very strong emotions. The first was hope. Hope that maybe my health problems had an explanation and that I could get to the bottom of them. Hope that this method could actually work, as she looked at us and said that all of her children had been planned. So I had this welling hope and joy that I'd finally found what I had always been looking for. And then I had anger, really bitter anger that I had not ever been told this before by that pediatrician, by sex education in school, by my parents who didn't know. I'm still very angry. I went to an event with high schoolers last year, and there were about 20 girls, and only 2 out of 20 knew that they weren't fertile 100% of the time. And that, to me, was such a failure of women's health education in this country. So I, went through college. I got really passionate about natural family planning, and I knew I wanted to start it for myself, for my own health, but I put it off. You prioritize things in life. And finally, last year, I decided needed to be my year of adulting because I was 24, and I just had to really check some things off my list. And I felt like fertility awareness deserved to be on that list of coming to be a mature adult woman. And so it took me a little while, but I finally got to emailing a Creighton practitioner to teach me this method. And I said in my email, "I'd like to learn now and not wait until I meet a man. I think it will be empowering and good for my overall health. I'm intimidated by the complexity of Creighton, so I may try it and it not work for me. I'm sadly far less disciplined than I wish I was. But I have some really crazy health and hormone issues that make me think Creighton may be worth the investment if someone nice like you were to teach me not to be afraid of it. And her reply was, if you think you are having hormone issues, I highly recommend getting them sorted out for your health, regardless of your relationship status. And she then encouraged me to be the best and healthiest Chaney possible. I felt so loved and honored by her, and I felt like I was doing something that loved and honored myself and my own body. So I began this journey, and it did feel a bit like a foreign language at first. It was intimidating, but that same friend who had sat with me in the Intro to Creighton session is now using it for her family planning. So she was able to help walk me through and just encourage me to not give up in understanding it. And all of a sudden, I found that it was understandable and achievable, and that it made sense, and it gave me such a sense of empowerment and control, and it was helping me overcome things like body shame and this shame that I'd had about my period like all my life was suddenly dissipating, and I was finding myself just achieve a greater level of self-acceptance. And I can't even describe how much that means to me. I really like the idea of living a disciplined and an orderly life. I tell myself, if I have the discipline to shower every day and brush my teeth twice a day and check Facebook far more than I should, then surely I have the discipline to take care of my health. And this is what I need to do. This is a method that I've found that I personally need in order to do that. And so really what I love about fertility awareness-based methods, no matter what method it is that it puts the power back to the woman. It takes it out of the hands of the drug company, out of the hands of men who just want birth control on my shoulders and, I want you whenever I want you. To me, it is the definition of female empowerment and female acceptance. And it's meant the world to me, and I feel like women deserve to know this, and that healthcare providers have a responsibility to inform them. So thank you so much. I just want to say, healthcare providers should respect the religion of their patients. Spirituality is part of overall health. Now looking back, I kind of attribute my reaction to birth control in the pediatrician's office to the Holy Spirit or natural law, and those are values that matter to me. And as I've grown in my understanding, my values have grown stronger on this issue. And if I were to have a doctor that just didn't even think that should be part of the conversation, I would feel really devalued. And I don't think that's the kind of patient empowerment that we should aspire to as people in the healthcare field. That's all.
I think that's a great point. Chaney?
When I was in college going through this exploration of what that is, my friend group, including the men, started to be treated to me talking about it and discussing it. And I was actually really surprised by the openness of my male friends who had never heard about it in looking into it and discovering it and seeing it as a discovery. And, all the people that have gotten married from our group are using this method now because we really all came to understand and appreciate it. So I was really surprised, but college men care too.
Yeah, now hopefully we can get more male medical students taking the elective next year and or the fourth-year elective. So remind your classmates, if they missed the opportunity, they can have the opportunity to do the fourth-year elective. Allison helps with that, as well as Kathy. I'll have the students go with fertility awareness teachers so they can observe how these methods are taught. And then I'll send students to work with Dr. Svekovich at Tepeyac or Dr. Sora up in Baltimore to see how they integrate these in the clinical